Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
Welcome to Be My Guest. We have an encore guest today, and I love it when we have a guest come back twice, 3 times, 4, 5. His name is Ray Wolf. Welcome back, Ray.
Thank you.
And
nice to be here.
He's an author, speaker, and a tour guide. Many of you may remember we recently had Ray on in January because there's an upcoming Scituate tour, and he is the head of that. And you're going to tell us about that, right?
Sure thing.
Go ahead.
I've written 2 books about the lost villages of Scituate and the Scituate Reservoir. My mom was born and brought up in one of the villages, and this is what got me going on the whole thing. And I had people say to me that the pictures in the Lost Villages book, why don't you do a tour around the reservoir showing people where these things used to be? Mm-hmm. And I said, gee, that's a great idea. Then I got involved doing another book, kind of forgot about it. The following year, somebody said the same thing again. And I said, somebody else said that last year. I said, let me see what I can do. So I grabbed the map, kind of went around the reservoir, seeing how many things I could speak about. And there was like 35 different points. So I put it together, put it out to the people, and they booked up. They sold out.
Yeah.
And so I did it again. They sold out again.
You had to rent now a bus?
Yeah, I started off with a 12-passenger bus from the senior center. And the second time I wanted to do it, they felt it was becoming a habit.
Yeah.
So I said, forget this. So I went to the local bus company and said, how much? And whoa.
Yeah.
And so I said, I've got to fill this thing up to make this thing pay.
Yeah.
So I did a 10 o'clock, a 12 o'clock, a 2 o'clock, and a 4 o'clock. And they all filled up.
All of them filled up?
Yep.
There wasn't one that was a little bit more than...
Nope, 30 people per truck.
30 per?
Per trip, yep. And unbelievable. And besides that, I had a waiting list of people that wanted to go. They either had a wedding that day, or they're going to be out of town, or whatever, but they wanted to go, but they couldn't make that date.
Right.
So I did it again that particular year, 2011. I did it in April, May, June, and October, and they all filled up.
Now, why
sold out?
Why did you skip July and August?
Leaves are on the trees. I had to think about that. Why did I skip?
You went on vacation.
Yeah, I like to do it before the leaves come out or after the leaves have fallen off.
Yeah.
Because you can see the foundations better as I point them out.
Now tell us, people here in Massachusetts, wondering where. Some people have asked me, I want to go, but where is Scituate? Where is it?
West of Providence.
All right, so it's Massachusetts.
Rhode Island.
Well, that's what I thought. And somebody just told me it's
Scituate, Rhode Island.
Okay.
Yes.
So going from Central Mass, how do you get there?
Down 146 to 295, head south on 295, get off on Plainfield Pike, which is Route 14, and you're in Scituate.
And that's Scituate.
Yep, if you head west on 14, it'll take you right across the Scituate Reservoir.
Now, this is big. You've got the tour all set. Tell us what's coming.
Okay, on March 23rd, I have right now booked a 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 2 o'clock. It turns out last night I got a phone call that I had this person that I met at one of my events, and she had talked about a group. Well, she called me last night. She wants 15 seats. So I said, I'll tell you what. I said, I've got the bus longer, and sometimes I do a 4 o'clock tour. I said, could you do a 4 o'clock tour? And she said, yeah. I said, I'll put you on the 4 o'clock tour.
Yeah.
And if I have an overflow, I'll flow them into the 4 o'clock tour.
And what this tour is about, it's about, if I remember correctly, a town that was basically leveled. 5
villages.
Yeah.
My mom was born and brought up in one of them. In 1915, the General Assembly passed a law and created the City of Providence Water Supply Board. And they gave them the power of eminent domain to condemn 14,800 acres and the 5 villages.
Now, tell us why did they condemn that?
To build a dam, it was going to be flooded, and the water was to be supplying Providence.
And what happened to the people living there?
They, scattered all over the place.
Were they paid, though, for their property?
They were. They didn't feel the right price, and the real main thing is they didn't want to sell in the first place.
No.
Their fathers were there. Their grandfathers probably built the place, so they didn't want to go, and they could not comprehend how someone could come in and say, "We're taking your village. We're building a reservoir."
Yeah.
And there were 7 recorded suicides.
What?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You didn't tell me that last time.
No, I didn't. New material.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty dramatic.
Yeah, my mom told a couple of stories, and I've heard them since then through different people, same stories. One gentleman went down to Providence to try to fight it at City Hall, and he came home, and his wife said, "How'd you make out, Joe?" And he said, "We're going to have to move." He said, "I'm going to go out and feed the cows."
Yeah, and he never came back.
And she said, "Okay, I'll send Mary, the daughter, out to get you when supper's done."
Yeah.
So supper was done. She said, "Mary, go get Pa. Tell him supper's done." So she goes out to the barn. He's hanging from one of the beams.
That's how much he was attached to that area.
Yep. Now another one, they come up to this old gentleman's home and said, "You've got 30 days. You have to get out of here. We're building a reservoir." And
here's the money and goodbye?
Mm-hmm. More or less. And he said, "I'm not moving." And they said, "Well, you have to, because we're going to tear the place down in 30 days, and you got to go." Yeah. And he said, "I'm not going. My father was here. My grandfather built this place. I'm not leaving." So they came back 2 weeks later and said, "You got 2 weeks. You got to get out of here. We're coming in 2 weeks with bulldozers and plow this thing down." Or carpenters, and they didn't have bulldozers back then. But he said, "Not leaving." So they come back 2 weeks later, ready to tear it down. Everything's quiet. They said, "Wow, he finally caught on. He got out of here." They went in the house. He went to bed and slit his throat.
I'm speechless. I don't.
They just could not comprehend how
what they were
somebody
going to
could
do.
come in and take their farm that their grandfather had built and destroy it.
I'm trying to get my mind around it. My parents built the home I grew up in Wilbraham.
Mm-hmm.
And what they paid to have it was huge, beautiful ranch. Dad, and Dean Ray knows my father, Dad. And what they paid then for a huge ranch like that, custom made, is not what it would sell. It would sell probably in a good market $900,000 now.
Yep.
But when Dad and Mom sold it when I was about 21, that's different when you're selling it, because he had to move on as he went up as a sales rep.
Yep.
But I'm trying to get my mind around somebody coming in Wilbraham in our neighborhood and say, "Yeah, I got to get out." I'm like, what? Imagine when my parents and my grandparents were in Arlington in an estate they had there that basically probably lived almost all their life with the kids. The feeling of being told, "You're going."
Yes.
What was the money they gave these people? Do you know?
I don't know.
What were these men afraid of, Ray? Were they afraid that they wouldn't be able to provide for their families, for themselves? What was it?
What, about moving?
Well, first of all, the morality of it stunk.
Yeah. Well, not only did they take their employment.
Yeah.
They took their neighbors.
Oh, they took their employment. They were working in the factories?
In the mills, sure.
These were not elderly men who were in their 90s or 80s. These were...
They were all ages.
Okay,
yes.
yeah.
Yes. But I'm talking the majority of the people worked in the mills. And so they were taking their employment, they were taking their friends, and they didn't know where to go. I mean, some went to Forster, some went to Gloucester. My family went to Hope, the southern part of Scituate, below the dam that didn't get flooded. And they just went all over the place. Now, back then, you communicated with postcards.
Yeah.
So if I lost your address, it's like you're off the face of the earth.
How would you find that person? You just wouldn't.
You don't. Unless you bumped into somebody that knew where they went.
Horrible feeling of abandonment.
Yeah. My mom stayed in contact with a couple of the school children that she went to school with, but most of them just, they went all different directions.
Were your mom and dad together? Was your dad passed away at that time? Or?
My mom was only 14.
Oh, she was a child back then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So she saw the mill where her dad worked torn down. She saw the store torn down, her church, her school. They were one of the last ones to leave.
So this was your grandparents' home.
Yes.
So how did they take this? What did your mom see?
Well, my grandfather passed away at 42. So he was like right in the middle of them saying they were going to do this and what have you.
Yeah.
My grandmother, like I said, moved the family to Hope, and did end up remarrying.
Yeah.
And
Do you see any leftover? Well, she's passed away.
yes,
Could you tell it how it had affected her psychologically a lot as you were growing up? That big move.
I don't ever remember my grandmother talking about it.
Yeah.
Most of the people in the villages never talked about it. It's kind of like when people come back from World War II.
Yeah.
They didn't talk about
Sort
it.
of like PTSD, isn't it?
Mm.
How about your mom? Was she affected by this?
Never got over it. She lived to 94 and a half, and she never got over it.
Oh.
If I may,
Sure. Go
I'll
for
read
it.
you one of her poems.
Go
As
ahead.
you know, she wrote 1,700 of them.
Yeah.
This she wrote September 21st, 1999. She was 88 years old.
Just a kid.
Just a kid,
Just
yeah.
a kid. That's what we say in my family. Just a kid.
And in all her poems, the tone of her poem never changes.
Yeah.
Now, this is when she was 88 years old. She wrote, "There were 5 villages. There were 5 villages. All the houses were painted white, and as you drove by, they were a beautiful sight. One sad day, they were all sold then, and you could never drive by the beautiful houses again. Only to make a reservoir, they were all torn down. I go back now and then, but all you can see are the foundations sinking into the ground. Our neighbors moved one by one. Yes, the sorrow and tears had just begun. I can picture in my mind the way they were then, but you can never drive by them again. All the sorrow and heartaches we had to face, for all the houses are gone, now only water in their place."
Oh my God. That says a lot of it, doesn't it? Doesn't it say it all, kind of?
Kind of does.
Did any of them stay? I don't think they could handle it. Stay and watch the devastation of these places being grazed.
Well, my mom was there, like I said, they stayed right up until about 1923. They started flooding it in 1925. So she wrote one poem about the church being torn down, the mill being torn down, and so on.
There's nothing legally these people could do.
No. No,
Was
it,
there
it
a-
was a done deal.
Was there a really strong environmental reason for this? For why they had
Providence needed more water and clean water. They were taking it out of the Patuxent Valley at the time, the Patuxent River, and all the mills dumped everything in the river.
Yeah.
So all the dyes from the cloth and all that stuff. So by the time it got down into Cranston, where they were pumping it out to send it down to Providence, they were trying to purify it, but I mean, it was not very good.
So on the tour, this is Ray Wolf again. He's running a tour in Scituate, Rhode Island, about all of this. Now, show us the picture of the tour bus.
Yeah, this is the tour bus that I use. It holds 30 people.
Yeah.
I do it, like I said, 2, 3, or 4 times
A day.
a day. Yep.
During the week, Ray, or just the weekend?
I'm doing something different this time. I'm doing it March 23rd, which is on a Sunday, and then I'm doing it April 19th on a Saturday, because some people can't make Sunday, some people can't make Saturday. So I'm giving them a choice there. And I'm booking them both. I've already booked for the April one, and my March one, the 2 o'clock tour is already half full.
So what this will do, we'll get the viewers to get this straight, is this is going to take you through where these villages were devastated, and Scituate in what was the name of the villages?
There's Richmond, Rockland, Ashland, South Scituate, and Kent.
Okay, we're not talking Ashland, Mass, and Rockland. We're talking Rhode Island. Okay, I know.
Right.
That's very easy to get mixed up. And you get to take the bus, and you're the tour guide.
Yes.
And you tell people as you go along, that used to be.
Correct. What I do is I circle the reservoir. Rockland was the largest village of all the 5 villages. Most of the villages had 1 mill, 1 church, 1 store. Rockland had 3 mills, 2 churches. It had like 5 stores, blacksmith shop, and so on and so forth. And it was a pretty active place. The trolley system that went between all the villages, the powerhouse was in Rockland. That powered all the trolleys. So the good thing about Rockland, if you want to say, is there was a road that went right down through the middle. Well, one side of the road is underwater. My mom's farm was on the other side, up on a hill.
Yeah.
They took it because it was in the watershed area. But all the foundations are there. So I used to take her back, and she used to reminisce that the house was on this foundation, the barn was on that foundation, and you could see the brook where her and her brothers used to play in, and so on. So as I'm circling the reservoir, I can point out these foundations. Now, if you have one of my books, either the Lost Villages of Scituate or the Scituate Reservoir,
Right.
what I'll do is I'll say, okay, open to page 10.
While the people are in the bus.
Correct. Oh, they all bring their books with them.
Oh, do you have any handouts in case you have to? I mean, somebody...
No, but I sell them at the...
Okay, all right.
And I'll say, you see the picture on the bottom of page 10?
Yep.
Well, that used to be right over there on that foundation. And they go, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they tore it all down. When you go across the Ashland Causeway, which goes right through the middle of the reservoir, it's a causeway that goes right from one side to the other side, and I have the bus stop just before the guardrail because I can't stop on the causeway.
Yeah.
But I have it stop right there, and I say, okay, take your Scituate Reservoir book. And by the way, I pass out a 2-page itinerary
Yeah.
at the beginning of the tour.
It's a 2-hour...
90-minute.
All right.
1.5.
I could handle that. All right.
Yep.
If too long, I'm like...
And, oh, no. I keep you totally occupied.
Nobody gets car sick, right?
No. It's a beautiful tour bus.
Okay, any snacks? You serve
No
food?
snacks on board. You can bring water, but nothing else.
Oh, come on. Some crackers and peanut butter?
No, you wouldn't have time to chew it.
You wouldn't know.
Sit in the back of the bus.
Okay.
But I stop at the beginning of the causeway. I'll tell them to open up to Ashland, and then I'll say, do you see the picture of Ashland? And you can see the causeway being built
Yeah.
right along the side of the village. The houses are here, and this is being built right in their backyard.
This was when everything was going down the tubes, and that was the causeway coming.
Correct. They're building it. And I'll say, you see Ashland?
Yeah.
It was right over there, 37 feet under the water.
How many thousands of people were taken away?
There was 1,195 buildings taken down. Exactly how many people, I don't know. I do know in Rockland it was 450 that was displaced.
What was the biggest burg of all those towns that got wiped out? Rockland?
Yeah.
Rockland was the biggest
Yeah.
one. That's where your mom was.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're riding in the tour bus,
Yep.
and you're telling people, do you ever, this is so sad, but do you ever say, and do you see right over there, that is where so-and-so committed suicide?
No, that I don't. I do have one place I stop. There's a lane that went up to my mom's farm, and there's a place where we can pull right over by the lane and stop. And I read a poem. It's called, The White Church. She wrote this in June of 1999 when she was 88 years old.
Yeah.
The White Church. There was a white church where I used to go. I love that dear old church more than you'll ever know. Oh, that dear old church in the country it stood. I love that white church made out of wood. Yes, that dear old white church by the roadside. They tore it down, now the foundation the bushes hide. Someday I'll go back and see where the church stood that day. That dear old church, the church they tore down one day. Just to return to that church one more time, it would be a dream come true, and happy it would make this heart of mine. Yes, I love the white church that was in my hometown, and I always went there when Sunday came around. Now, after I get done reading that, I've stopped the bus right on the side of the road. Right on the other side of the fence, maybe 20 feet, there's a foundation.
Yeah.
And I walk down the aisle, and I
show
say, this was on that foundation.
And everybody's mouths go.
Right.
Question, what if someone has to go to the bathroom?
There's one on board.
Oh, good. Okay.
This is a tour bus.
All right, because I was going to say, you know what? A lot of people might not be able to do that for 90 minutes. I mean, I think I'd be fine, but I'm thinking of some people who might not be able to. Oh, so they can go.
Yes.
And they're not going to get locked into the Some people get locked into jobs on buses. They can't get the door.
No, that's Russia.
Oh, yeah, right. Do it for Mother Russia, yeah. So now, tell us the dates coming up again.
March 23rd
Yeah.
on 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 2 o'clock,
Okay.
and April 19th.
Now, tell us how to get a hold of you if people want to go on this tour.
Yes, they can either call me at 401-821-0016, or they can go to my website, www.raywolfnoebooks.com.
Now, I'm just amazed. Tour guide, author, And speaker. Now, speaker, are you going around speaking too?
I speak all over the place. I speak at Masonic lodges, Elks clubs,
Yeah.
libraries, schools. I've been to RIC. I've been to URI.
What about here in Massachusetts? Do you think there's enough of the people? Do you reach more people closer to Rhode Island, or does it matter? Because I could
Probably
find
so.
plenty of places for you up here. That's not enough to speak.
I mean, I go wherever.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I have a 1 hour PowerPoint presentation I do on every one of my books.
PowerPoint?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Yep. I'm high tech.
What have you got there in your hand? Is that a DVD?
It is. What happened was I had a gentleman on one of my tours with his 12-year-old son, and he had a camera,
Yeah.
a movie camera. And once I get talking, you all just disappear.
Yeah.
I get involved.
Yeah.
And a couple days later, he said, Ray, you're going to be home. I got something I want to bring to you. And I said, sure. So he come up and he gave me this DVD. He said, I want you to have it. And I said, oh, gee, thanks a lot. So I went downstairs. I popped it in my computer.
It's you.
I couldn't stop watching it. I said, this thing is great.
It was you on the tour thing.
Yes. Yeah, the whole tour.
You didn't know he was doing this?
No, he was taking pictures and what have you, And I said, this would sell. So I called him up and I said, can you run me off some of these things?
Yeah.
So he said, yeah. He said, if you want. He said, I'll do a nice cover. So he makes a nice cover for it. And I said, well, this is going to be good. So I made a nice cover for it.
Oh, yeah. The bus.
And then I give an explanation on the back.
And what's it called? What's the title?
It's the Lost Village Tour by author Raymond A. Wolf.
And it is a DVD. About how long? How many minutes long?
60 minutes.
A good hour.
Yeah. Actually, excuse me, it's 75 minutes.
Yeah.
Because what happened was, where my mom's farm was, I can't take the tour up there because it's on city property. However, I got permission from the city people to go up there and videotape. So we went up there and we videotaped an extra 15 minutes of my mom's foundations, the brook she used to play in, and so on.
Who
So-
did he came with you?
Yes.
Oh, he knew what he was going to do. He knew.
Well, this was after the 60-minute one that he gave me. I said, can we add something to that?
So he added on.
Right.
So people get an extra treat if they have this DVD.
Yes, correct.
They can actually. So if you're watching,
So they can go to my book,
Yeah.
where my mom's foundations are and everything.
and then they can also watch this and prepare for your tour.
Yes. And they can stand there with the book and see the foundation, and there it is right there.
Yeah.
You know?
So now how do people go about getting this DVD? The same place they can get the book from you.
On my website.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
How soon do people have to register with you to get on a bus?
I'm booking right now.
Oh,
I'm even booking the April one.
would it be easier if they just call you?
Yes.
Give out your telephone number again, Ray.
Yes. It's 401-821-0016. The tour is $23 per person.
Yep.
And what I'm doing is I'm offering anyone that says that they saw me on Be My Guest a $3 discount.
Oh, that's good.
So this will help you. And
help
just
you.
make sure they say that, you know, they saw me on Be My Guest.
Yep.
And so they'll get it for $20. And
Did
what
my
else?
father? Ray knew my father. They were both. Ray, you're not with AAA anymore, correct?
No.
My father worked for Ray at AAA as a sales rep. One of the many jobs Dad had. He'd been an entrepreneur. He'd been in radio and everything. And did he know? Were you yet into this? Did he know? He never told me about this.
No.
He had no clue. He didn't.
No,
know.
my mom was still alive back then.
Okay.
And this didn't happen until she passed away. I was cleaning out her house,
Yeah.
and I came across 2 suitcases, like the kind you put under a seat on a plane, and they were full of handwritten poems.
That's right. You told me, and
That's
you just
right.
you
There
have
was
a
1,700 poems.
Yeah, do you know that she was writing these poems, all these?
Yeah,
You knew.
Yeah, she had a lot published in the local paper and magazines and what have you.
Yeah.
And whenever she was down in the dumps, I'd ask her to write a poem about something.
Right.
And she wrote about everything.
Yeah, she's pretty talented. Did she ever get them published?
That's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
This particular book here, called The Lost Village of Rockland.
Of Rockland, Rhode Island, not Massachusetts.
Right.
Yeah.
Is all about her village, and it's got her complete poems in it.
Is that her as a little girl?
That's her when she was 8 years
It
old.
reminds me of how. When was she born?
1910.
Okay, my mom was 10 years younger than she was, but there was still a look the clothing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother grew up in Rockland, Mass. How ironic is this? And you know my father, so this is amazing.
Now, on the tour, I read a number of her poems in between spots, and at her farm, I tell a couple of stories that she used to tell. Want to hear one?
Yeah, go ahead. We have 5 minutes. Go for it.
Okay. The story is about the egg money. Now, Grandpa, that lived with them, had a hen house, and being old, she used to go out and collect the eggs for him. Well, when she was 12 years old, she got it in her head that she wanted a store-bought dress for Easter.
Yeah.
She had never had a store-bought dress.
Right.
And she picked it out in the Montgomery Watch. She knew exactly what she wanted. She used to bring the mail home for 3 neighbors, and they used to give her a nickel a night to bring the mail home. They were older folks, and but the nickels weren't adding up fast enough, so she had to come up with another plan.
Yeah.
So she said, if I take 1 egg every night and put it behind the wall over by the house there, and then on Saturday she'd have 6 eggs. She never took any on Sundays. She got her little pail. She knew her mother always sent her to the market on Saturdays. She put all the eggs in the pail. She'd go to the market and say to the guy, my mom wants to sell you these eggs. That's nothing unusual. That's what they did back then.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he would sell them to his customers.
Yeah.
And he'd say, yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'll take it off your mom's slip. Because everybody had a slip. You got paid at the mill on Friday. You went and paid your bill at the market. Oh, no. My mom don't want you to do that because you know my dad, he's always at the tavern, doesn't give my money any money, and this is the only money she has. Okay, so he would give her the change for the eggs. She got enough money, went to the post office, made out a money order, sent it in. A couple of weeks later, she gets her dress in the mail, comes trotting home, and her mother says, where did you get the money for that dress? And she said, well, Ma, you know I bring home Mrs. Potter's mail and Mr. Potter's mail and so on, and they all give me nickels, and you know me, I don't spend my nickels. And they add up. And she goes, oh. Now, the thing is, at the time, her mother couldn't count. So she had no idea what nickels added up to. Many years later, my mom is reminiscing, thinking about these things, and she said, you know, I remember Grandpa scratching his head and saying, you know, Mary, those hens ain't laying like they used to.
Yeah.
I can't figure it out. So she thinks Grandpa knew what was going on all along, but never said anything.
Isn't that cute?
And her mother always said she was Grandpa's pet.
Did the dress fit?
She never did say.
That's tricky business.
But that story's going to be in my book.
That is Ray. Thank you so much for coming, and
You're welcome.
If you want to go on this tour, I really you can contact me at jjl3000@verizon.net if you want any more information about Ray. If you didn't happen to get it before, and we'll certainly get you to be in touch with Ray. This sounds like a ball. I think. Again, what are the dates? March
23rd on a Sunday, April 19th on a Saturday.
Well, as long as it's not a boat, I won't get sick, and I'll sit up front. Thank you, Ray.
I'll reserve a seat for you.
We'll see you next time. I'll be my
Thank you very much.
Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.